Good morning and happy Sunday, everyone. This is episode 9 of Sundays Are for Contemplation, and we are here with Mr. K.
Hello.
Cheers. Great way to start this off.
Yeah.
I think you're drifting. It's morning my time, so I'm having coffee. I think it's later. I think you're having something different.
Yeah. We're later, but for the mystery of things, we're not going to reveal what time it is. It's just
Right.
morning perpetually. So, yeah. So, Kay, tell us, straight off the bat, how has your entire life led you up to this moment right now? We need to know.
That's the opener? That's the opening question? Tell me your whole life story.
For you, there's no small talk. That's the opener.
I like it. How did it lead me up to this moment? Like right now? Like here? Like right now?
Right now, where are we? How do we know each other?
Oh, okay. So we met. You, Nicole and Sofia are the founders and leads at the Wait Hope Foundation, which is a nonprofit partner to Linda. And Linda was a meme that my friend Alex Mack started saying, and then we just kept joking about it. And then I started making memes of it and posting on different social media platforms. And then it became a company because we thought it was funny to name it after the thing that was nothing. And then the company is, I would call it a company, but you have to like make money to have a company. So it's just like an endeavor that we dump money into that we're fronting a lot of events that we're doing worldwide. And it's a IRL art platform. So we're doing digital art focused events all over the world. We're doing one in Florence coming up. And then I met Sinbad, who is the head of 30CE, which is I think 50 person now collectors group of people who had never been on chain before, hadn't been in Web3, so they collect for collecting. And so Linda and 30C came together, and then they made this like thing, and then Wait and Hope was part of that, and now we're all like this. And then you were doing a podcast, and you said you want to do a podcast. I said I want to do a podcast. So that's where we are.
I love it. And as always, if I recall correctly, Mariano was the one who introduced you and Sinbad. And if it wasn't for Mariano...
You want me to tell that story?
You can tell that story. We can get into the story.
Okay, so this story is that this guy named JT Liss, who's like a super good friend of mine, and he's like he's just taught me so much about the digital art space. Like we met early on, and he's a very established IRL or real life artist, like photographer, and does collage work as well. And then he made a good name for himself on chain, on Solana. And over time, he became like the head of Bonk Arts, which is an art organization. There's a marketplace that he's going to be like helping and guiding along. And he had asked me, or we had talked a bunch of times about me doing in real life shows. And I was always like, I don't want to do that. I just want to go to things and like, I'm a ham, but I'll just do it behind the scenes. And then he had a really good idea for a smaller show, like a 200, 300 person attended show at NFT NYC. NFT NYC is like a yearly gathering of all, Web3 and blockchain type people. Art is part of it. And it was awesome. And we did 30 different artists from all around the world. Like there was a focus on, we did a bunch of people from Nigeria, South America. Like I think we made a more diverse representation than the typical Eurocentric, even in the Web3 blockchain world, Eurocentric artists. So we did that. It was awesome. So before we were doing it, the place that we were going to do it at didn't have great screens. They had okay screens. And so we asked them like, who has great screens? They're like, this is this guy Sinbad. He's in Jersey. I don't know Sinbad at this point. In my head, it's like a dude in Jersey. So we're just DMing over text. We haven't met each other. He seems like a nice guy. He's just like, he's like, I got a lot going on. I don't want to do this, like that kind of thing. But I'm like, please, we don't have any money, but do it for us. He's like, okay. So it was more than that. But so he said he'd supply the screens for us. He'd bring them in. He'd take them down. We didn't have to talk. We didn't have to meet each other. I'm like, okay, great. So that happens. The screens are awesome. I never meet them until the night of the show. And I don't drink, but a lot of people are just, it's that time. Everybody's having a good time. It's dialing down. People are just wandering around. There's like, hors d'oeuvres on the floor. And there's two guys standing just staring at one of the screens. And I walked over and I said, oh, these are nice screens, huh? And it was more than that. But like, and one of the guys, he just didn't want to talk to me. He was just like, yeah, okay, fine. And then Mariano, that was Sinbad. And Sinbad was apparently exhausted and had done a lot of work. I know him well enough to be like, he was probably like, who's this jerk? Who's this guy? I don't want to really talk to this guy.
He was acting too cool for you. That's what it was.
He's too cool. I'm not cool. So when people act cool, I'm kind of like, meh. But now that I know him, I still can't decide if he was just really tired or if he was like, who is this clown? So Mariano, though, being the nice person that he is, shout out Mariano, Wait and Hope Foundation. He was like, I know in his heart, he's like, I can see Kei. Kei's a nice guy. In his heart, he's saying this to himself. Look at this nice guy. My jerk friend Sinbad, I'm going to make up for this. So he started talking to me. And then we figured out, I'm like, oh, I'm Kei. He's like, oh, I'm Sinbad. And he's like, I'll talk to you later tomorrow. Because he's less tired. But we soon realized we've had very aligned interests in mind in terms of bringing for us the big deal is in real life shows and like connecting people. That's how you're going to connect people to the art world, digital art world who aren't there now. Like we have a lovely robust network of people who already buy art and make art and know about art on chain, and then like literally 7.9 billion people who don't. So to get to those people, it's like go and do art shows. Him and I are very aligned on that. He was already making screens. He had a collectors group going, and the more we talked, I'm like, oh, we could do this bigger, which is what I like to think that I try to do is amplify the things that we touch. And then we're like, yeah, we should do some shows together. And then it became, oh, let's partner up. And now fast forward, we've done, I don't know how many shows, 8 or 9 shows this year or in 2024. We met in April. So in 9 months, we did that many shows. One of them was we were participating in a 3-day show in New York City at Loom. And I think like 3,000 or 4,000 people came through. And then we were like, hey, why don't we do a week in Florence? Never done that before. So we're hoping that a few thousand people show up for that. And it's going to be a 7-day event celebrating digital art in the seat of the original Renaissance to celebrate the new digital Renaissance. So
you guys only met last year?
Yeah.
What the hell? Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, he says that people have been talking, like saying, "Oh, you should meet this guy." I never heard of him before. I never even came on my radar. No, people said to me too. They're like, "Oh, there's this guy Sinbad. He's doing something." And I think we were both just like, "Sure." You know, you hear a lot of things about meeting people, and neither of us is that. He's not. He's anonymous, and I'm not. And I like, people know who I am, but I'm not super looking for attention, even though I'm a ham. And I think both of us were like, "Yeah, we'll meet that person someday." But then when we intersected, I think at least me, no, I can speak for him too. I think we realized maybe if we had met earlier, it wouldn't be like this. And the fact that we have the resources we have now, and we've both been through enough stuff, we're like, all right, not that, this. That's why it accelerated so quickly. So
I know Nicole has said this before, but you guys really give platonic soulmates.
Yeah, 100%. Everything happens for a reason, and the universe put you in the same situation and space with the same people. Like Mariano just happened to be there because he's not in New York. He's not based in New York, so he came from Boston for that one weekend for this all to happen and for all of us to connect.
I think so. I feel like that. Even our connection, like us hanging out and then talking about Wait and Hope and like what you wanted to do, and I think that's accelerated too. And if it wasn't all of us together, no one of us is the thing, but all of us together, like I talk, like from the day I met you two, I was just like, like it was like that, right? And like that doesn't always happen. So yeah, I think we're doing in this multiverse, in this version permutation of fractal universe. I think we're all doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So
I agree completely. So I did want to ask you, cheers.
Cheers.
To us. No, I did want to ask you, I think something that we always talk about in the podcast is like getting into on-chain art and like the digital space. Because I guess, like you said, it's like a network that's kind of spread out, and if you're in it, but a lot of people outside don't. So I kind of want to know, like, what is it that brought you to it? And like our listeners that maybe aren't in the space or are curious about it, like can see like its value, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I came for one reason, I stayed for another. So I came for inherent laziness and greed, and then I stayed for different reasons. So I was in tech for a long time. I've always been touching on tech. I was a bartender for a long time. I had an art degree and I dropped out of school. I got kicked out of art school. And then I got a philosophy degree because that's what stoners do. And then I was a bartender for a long time, but I was always dabbling in code. And so then I got into just self-taught developer, and then accidentally right time, right place in a couple of .com booms and did well and made it up the ladder to like larger organizations. So in like 2017, I was just fed up with working a certain kind of executive job. And I was with somebody, I met somebody I really liked. And so we're like, why don't I just go into consulting full time and check out? So I bought some Bitcoin and Ethereum and a couple other things that went to zero. in 2017, but I wasn't really in the space. I was just like, throwing darts at the board and being like, I think these things are going to make money. Some did, a lot didn't. And then when 2020 rolled around, by that time I was doing all consulting. I had some really good gigs. I was focused on, I was making reasonably good money, but I was only taking gigs that I liked. For example, I was working with a startup out of Vanderbilt University, and we were building like VR simulators for autistic individuals. There's no like bad words in that sentence. Like everything I had done before had been like not good words, like military or Coca-Cola or other things. So when 2020 in March-ish, I was getting ready to. I had booked tickets all around the world. I had invested really baby amounts in a bunch of different companies. I had an organization that I'm still fairly active in, that we were doing investing in underrepresented founders, so women, people of color. If you weren't a cis white hetero male, we would talk to you. That's the gig, right? And so we had like a collective of people around the world, small collective, like 20 people. And I'm like, all right, this is the year. I'm gonna book all these tickets, and I'll go and do like a podcast, a video podcast around the world. And I started it. I went to, and my partner was totally cool with it. She's like, cool, you're on the road all the time. This will be awesome. Just stay in touch. And I got to Berlin on March, I think it was the 18th or 19th. And that was the day that Trump started telling people he's going to shut down the borders. And in Germany, my Airbnb guy in broken English was like, you can't stay here. You got to go virus. I'm like, I hear you. And so I took like the most expensive plane ticket in the world. 24 hours later, I landed and then got back on a plane and came back to the States. And I was in the Atlanta airport, and it felt like Game of Thrones. Like people were just starting, I think, to feel like something weird's going on. Like they were rushing a little too fast to the passport thing. Yeah. This will come all around the blockchain. This will get there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to chill. I can't get a cab or anything. I can't figure it out. I don't know if I can have a connecting flight. And I sat down and I looked at the price of Bitcoin, and it crashed. It was just at the floor. So I went all in. Whatever I had, I'm like, I think we're going to be home for a while. I'm canceling all these flights. I'm about to get back all this like credit. And so I just went in all on Bitcoin. And I realized pretty quickly the things that I've been thinking about for years is like, let me become a trader. It's like, I have enormous amounts of time to do this. I really like my partner at the time. We've been together for years. We had a dog. We had this dog. We had a nice house with a lawn. I'm like, I don't have to leave the house anymore because of COVID. So I taught myself how to trade, and I did well that year. So I can't, and I didn't have to leave the house. Like we were just, it's a video game that poops money, as my partner used to say.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into it first, into Web3, and it was the technology part of it. Because when I first came in, I was more on the, I was predominantly focused on Ethereum, which is one of the blockchains. And I was doing development and coding and building things. And then I realized, I'm like, that's fun. Why am I doing this? I can just make money and then go outside. We'll go in our backyard because it was COVID. So I did well. And like everything was on, there's different forms, modalities of communication. Like now it's like Twitter is a big thing for people to talk to each other, always has been. But back then, Discord, which is another Slack-like kind of platform for people or like Teams for real corporate people. It's like Microsoft Teams. And a lot of the action was happening there. So I got into certain groups. You would be with like 20, 30, 100 people. Got to be really good friends with folks. Also got like scammed a bunch of times, which I think is the price of education in Web3. Anybody who says that they haven't got scammed is like, you're either lying or you're not trying, because to poke around and experiment with things, something's going to happen, right?
I might have to quote you on that.
What's that? What, the scam part?
Yeah, scam is the price of education in Web3. That was like,
yeah, I don't think I'm not the first one who said it, but I'm definitely a prime example of it. So even as of like 6 months ago, I clicked on something. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's last year's money gone, and something I could have avoided. I'm not scaring you. Web3 is a great place. It's awesome. So I made a good amount of money, or I made enough money that I was like, oh, this is great. This is what I was making in consulting. My partner was super happy because, I'd been traveling a lot beforehand and we made it work, but it was really nice to be like, we're together. We don't have to leave the house now. But I got to a point in 2020, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, I was, the way that I approach Web3 is like, I pay my bills. Like, I'm not the kind of guy who's like good enough where I can like become a millionaire and leave. Although I left a couple of years ago, I just spent to zero. Like I was like, I didn't manage my money well. Had a great year, had a fantastic year. So now I kind of like pay myself a paycheck. It's like I invest, I do things, I trade, and I have a nice life. at that point, I'd started to realize like I was kind of empty inside, honestly. And I had gone through like a depression phase because I was just online all the time. I was super active trader back then. And a friend of mine, this is where it connects to the art world. A friend of mine, kind of flippantly, was just like, "Why don't you try art?" Being like, "You haven't even looked at what all of Web3 has to offer." I was just focused on building apps at one point. Got tired of that, and then I was like, "Let me just make money." Got tired of that. He's like, "There's a few other things going on out here. Like it's the next revolution of technology. You might want to look at what else is there." And art was interesting to me. I started to get into it because at first I was like, "I'm going to flip art." You know, like I was just coming from a trader mentality. I'm like, buy this and sell this. I'm going to buy the next Picasso, except it's going to be in a month instead of 100 years or 60 years. Sinbad will question my dates and my art history knowledge. But I soon found out like I'm not good at that. Like I don't know how to read that market. And also I understood better some of the kind of affordances and kind of some of the mediums that were being used because there's animation, there's like audio and sound. So I'm like, oh, this is digital art, which I'm accustomed to. It's just on chain, and there's a whole universe going on over here. And I just went hard to the paint. Like I was like, we hit what we call a bear market, where there was like a downturn where a bunch of people left because nobody was making money. So it like gets to be like cobwebs and tumbleweeds. And so I joked that there was like 20 of us in a bunch of mirrors. Like you just knew the same people if you were online every day. We did like podcasts, same people every day. So I was able to not only collect art that I wanted, because previous to that, there'd been like a competition to get great art that was out there. So there was nobody around. So there's only a few of us collecting, a few of us releasing work. So I got to know a lot of people. I had been pretty anonymous previous to that. And I got to a point, I'm like, I just don't care anymore. That's a big thing in Web3 too, being anonymous, a lot of people. Me, I'm just like, I'm already going to jail. The IRS is going to come and get me. I don't know. I have Gmail. I have a Twitter account. They're already tracking us everywhere. And I don't make enough money where it's like, I don't think they're going to come after me. Well, they probably will, but
that we say on the spaces, everything incriminating that we say on the spaces weekly. I mean, there's definitely some flags that are being raised. So.
Oh yeah, I'm on a watch, and I'm brown. I'm on a watch list, and I have a beard.
Double homicide.
So I here's the adult part of it. Like I had a conversation with a few friends, and I was like, we were talking about capital, like wealth redistribution of wealth, and I wasn't like a millionaire, but I did pretty good, right? And then I would talk to people from Indonesia, where because of the exchange rate, or in Mexico, or in like certain parts of South Asia, where $1 equals X, a multiplier X of something else. So even selling like one piece is pretty impactful on somebody's life. If I'm spending $100 on a piece of art, that the power of that to do something else, the fulcrum lever of that to do something else in their economic climate is bigger. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I want to buy art anyway. Let me just start, buying stuff. It's not breaking my bank. Now, in retrospect, if I look at my P&L, I've spent an irrational amount of money on art, but I love it, right? So I feel like I've, my addictive personality kicked in, which I think a lot of art collectors don't want to, like you're scratching an itch. Okay, so then I just got to know a lot of people, and then I started doing like podcasts like this or spaces on Twitter. I started going to in real life events, and I did some interview stuff, but nowadays I just show up at some things, but I'm more focused on doing our own events, Sinbad and I. And I've stayed in the space. I still do some financial things. I've never really been public about what I do. I used to have like a private server where like we would do trading, and like I was like a paid analyst, and I just don't do anything like that anymore. The pressure of that is too much for me. And so I just like collect art. I try to support people who are doing art. I like having conversations about art. I like making fun of other people who are pretentious about art, and that seems to be, that makes me happy and works. And so that's how I got into it, and that's why I've stayed in it. And now I'm seeing that there's an opportunity. Sinbad and I obviously have the thesis that there's a huge opportunity to change the way that digital artists look like in the space, instead of being what I think a lot of outsiders have a perception of. It's like, oh, it's these ugly pieces of art that are flipping just for profit, where we have built a network of people who predominantly, at least from outside of our traditional circles, they've never even traded crypto. They're just like buying art, so they see it very differently. And then what you're doing, and I'll shut up in a second, what you're doing is like, in terms of your focus on the kind of foundational side of like, family offices, of institutions, of endowments, of donations, like I don't think that's been done well as of late without a profit model in mind. I would love it if we broke even, and we're going to, and everyone's going to get paid who works here. But in terms of it being like, oh, it's this exponential growth rate, which I think everybody thinks every, not even blockchain, but internet project needs to be. We're skewing that for like the bigger picture, and that's why I'm sticking around, because otherwise I'd be gone by now, or I'd be silent.
Yeah. Wow.
Cheers.
That's what you get. That's what you get after one sip of coffee. I just started caffeinating, so you get a little bit.
No, I love it. I think your journey is honestly very inspiring, especially because of how organic it is, and I feel like everything has just like kind of flowed together really well. And again, in our last two interviews that we did with Sades, Andres Del Vecchio, for me, what really excites me is because the space is so young, is like you get to really see the details of how everyone got onto this space. Because, you know, being an artist is something that's been around for centuries. You know, being an art appreciator has also been something that is, I think, part of like the human condition. But specifically the digital art movement, what we're trying to create right now, like everyone has had their very different reasons, and it's like we're all kind of intersecting right now. And it's just, to me, so inspiring. Like I always get like so excited to talk about it.
We're on the edge of like arguably there's less than, okay, so when somebody says digital art, like before blockchain, people were making art in digital. I'm old, so we were doing it for a while, right? And say like the earliest that it was being done was, I don't know, 60s, 50s, arguably could be earlier with like, you know, Babbage machines, whatever, but with a screen and an interaction, maybe it's like the 60s or 50s. Somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong, like what I just said. There's arguable. So there's not that much art history to begin with, but in terms of like this kind of, to use a not trite term, decentralized and super accessible way to release art, we're like, what, in year 6, year 7 maybe? So there's 7 years max, or maybe a little more, of art history to learn. Like we can, like I know people from 7 years ago from like my childhood or whatever else. Like that's what's exciting to me. That like there's not this huge robust, oh, I have to get into it. You can actually know all the major players if you try hard enough.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, I'm equally excited.
Who do you think are some like major players from 7 years ago that you remember and are still around or not around anymore? Like in your experience, how has it transformed in these 7 years?
Okay, 7 years was a totally arbitrary number. So I'll say, I didn't know. I only started like collecting art.
2018, 2017 when you started. That's 7-8 years.
Is it really?
I shouldn't
Oh
know
my
that.
god.
Yeah, dude. Think how I feel. I'm like 7 times your age. I'm 97. So I mean, like, think how. I mean, I can only talk about the couple of years that I've been doing it. So even in the short time that I've been here, that I've seen people that, you know, they'll release some art. It's dope. Gets a lot of hype. They make some money. And then life happens. So like their Twitter account is suddenly gone or their Instagram goes away and you just don't see them anymore. And maybe I'm friends with them and I know what's going on. Like I've had friends who had like serious family problems. They're like, I can't do this anymore. It's like, I get it. And we still talk, but they don't do anything. Other people disappeared. And then there's other folks who were like of note, and like people revered them at one point to be like, you're gonna hearken in this golden age of digital, and they made a few $1 million. I'm like, nah, and then just go do something else, you know, like. So there's countless people, I think, and I don't even know everybody, right? So there's other people who know way more people than me who are like the originals, the OGs, as they say. So that's just too broad a question to be like, I mean, I could specifically talk about people I think are jerks that bounce with a lot of money and I know what they're doing now. And other people, I'm like, I know that they're having personal issues, but I think it's just such a fluid and dynamic space. Like people can be really hot here for, you know, weeks or months. It's the interwebs, you know? So I'm sure that somebody else has a better answer than that they're just like, well, this is why this person's important. I'm like, we're in year 4. Like everybody's okay. Like everybody's fine. Everybody's important now. But like, who's going to actually last 100 years from now when I'm dead? Like, unless I get like, you know, Blood Boy and nanites, and I might be alive. I get access, but yeah, never mind. I'm not going to get into the baby thing. So I don't think we've. Simat has a great thing he says that it was epiphanous to me, where he talks about how even somebody like Picasso is only a few generations old. So like in terms of, oh, Picasso's the pinnacle and it's selling for this much money. And it's like, that might be gone in 100 years. We might not even know. But there's things from 100 plus years ago that were like, okay, that's transcendent. That's awesome. So all of these conversations about like who's the originals and everything else, I don't even think we know what that's going to be yet. So that might be a cope for my lack of art education, but that's kind of the way that I view.
Yeah. No, but speaking on your art education, now going a little closer to the residency topic,
Yes.
how is it for you being on not the artist side of the residency, but sort of leading the team, teaching some topics, and not having had your formal art education? What is
Yeah.
it like to experience this now?
That's a broad question. Okay, so I don't think I'm teaching in the residency. I think so I tried being a college professor for a year, and I cannot stand when people are paying for something and not using it properly. So like I left because I was like, oh, you're the cat I was in college. I can't teach you. But so I wouldn't consider myself a great teacher. I think I'm pretty good to like set up a space for conversation. That's what I'm pretty good at. So Sinbad is the one who's like honestly teaching because he is encyclopedic to my no, he's encyclopedic in terms of his knowledge of the Renaissance, self-taught, but knows more than some academics I know. And his ability to also connect not only like what the history is, but conceptual points is really, it's really great. So he's designed the residency. I think I'm just I'm showing up and helping out is what it is. So that's the context. The other side of it is being there, like it's awesome. You see me in there. I'm like, I'm just sitting there grinning the whole time because we're having conversations like I like to have about things that I dig with people who aren't. There's a youthful exuberance in Web3, which often leads to dumb conversations. So as much as I think it's awesome that we can be fun and silly, like there's also a thing you can have fun with, like talking about art history, because I think there's a foundation to it. There's nothing wrong with going back and looking at what people did before and taking what we want from it. And that's what I feel like the residency is doing. There's like 16 artists in there. We're doing an online, for context, it's an online residency, 7 weeks long. Wait and Hope were integral in helping us develop out the educational component. And then Sinbad and I, we show up every Sunday, and it's up to about 2 hours of open conversation. And there's an open conversation with some reading about the Renaissance, which is part of the assignments, which will come out at the end. Everyone's creating a piece of work which is founded on a classic Renaissance contest that happened that we can talk about more later. And then there's like an hour discussion with some topic. Like I think today I have to present. Shit, I have to do that. So I'm doing what am I doing? A panel with two AI artists about like their path and journey. So super interesting, right? So to your question about how do I feel, I'm like I get to participate, and I don't mean that in some Pollyanna way. I'm like, this is dope. Like we have a setting that I would hang out with anyway, except that I get to hang out and actively be a part of it. In terms of being on the other side as an artist, like I had a milquetoast kind of path as an artist back in the day. Like I got a scholarship to art school, messed it up, did everything but what I was supposed to do. And then over the years, I've been and we know this because we've talked about it. So about being a writer, like I write fiction, I write some prose poetry. I've collaborated with certain artists on chain and not told anybody. A few people know. And like I'll do prompts and then they write something. And then as of late, and I've been doing this for a year, and I guess I'm finally like my self-esteem is like my give no fucks meter is like super high now. So I'm like, I've been making art on Midjourney and AI and Stable Diffusion. I'm just going to start releasing it like cinematics that I like because I want to make something. This is a little bit of a rabbit hole. There's a Legette is if you look it up, it's like the origin of probably the modern thing. It's like 12 Monkeys by Terry Gilliam with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt all day, was based on Legette, which Legette was filmed, but it's a series of stills that a French artist put together years ago. And it's kind of loosely like a time travel story. And when I saw that recently, I was like, wait, I can do that in Midjourney. I can make a bunch of cinematic scenes randomly and then try to like see what emerges from there, akin to what we talked about. It inspired me to for our collaboration. So that connects to, I'm getting more out of it since last week than I was the 2 weeks before the residency, because I'm looking at it like, oh, I can apply that to my art. I go like this because like there's actually real artists in there. And then we did something. I'll say one more thing. We did something the other day. Like our friend Ruby Rhizome, who is just professionally trained fine artist, studio artist, and just incredibly knowledgeable about like sacred geometry and geometry in the Renaissance work as well as just modern and contemporary art. I learned a ton just sitting for an hour and watching her do a professional grade presentation. So. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's both sides of it.
Nice. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers again. Every time we finish answering a question, we have to take. Yeah.
It's okay. Am I being too verbose, or is this what you wanted to get out of this?
No, this
No,
is
this is
perfect.
amazing.
I think everyone is gonna like love hearing what you have to say, and
Awesome.
I love also having these moments with all three of us together, just getting to know each other better. So
Oh, can I do a little shout out? This is free publicity. Our friend Robbie Shilstone, who is also he was gonna be one of the presenters, workshop leaders in the residency, and then he showed up for one, and now he's just been coming to every single one, and it's wonderful because he's an accomplished artist himself, not just a teacher, and so he's been going to every single event, and it's like just amazing. But he just launched what I think is super interesting. Maybe we can talk about different forms and mediums of art that are emerging. He is it's essentially it's a decentralized and kind of participatory animation studio. So he's making short films with the help of the community, and it's much more than that. But it's called Public or Public or Public Q, depending on how much I want to make fun of him. And this is the very New York style hat. And Public with a QUE is the thing. So go check it out. I am not endorsed nor paid for this announcement. I just think it's dope that he has taken. He's a very well known, one of the top illustrators in the world, animators in the world. Otherwise, for film, commercials, television, and he came to Web3 with an idea to like how can you democratize and decentralize production, filmmaking, get around the kind of studio model, and he's doing it. So I think that's interesting to me too, that those things are only possible in what we're doing now in Web3. So back to why do I stay around is like I keep seeing interesting things that are, I mean, it's ostensibly a commercial kind of like endeavor without all the ties of the commercial world. So anyway, that's the hat. I just want to say that.
yeah.
Got into it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny too, because I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago on this podcast when we had just started the residency. I mentioned something that he had said in the residency about the artist as a shaman, because when he said that, it really resonated with me. Like personally, when I'm creating my work, it's just like a voice from the void, whatever that void means to you. I don't know. Just the other day, me and Nicole were talking about the existence of God. So I'm like,
Oh my God.
anyway.
All day. No, that's not any. You don't say that and then anyway. You dive into what that is.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the context is anyway. We were not. I think we were in a club and we were discussing this.
Yeah,
like just outside of a club. So that's what I'm saying. Where I'm like, I need to
Can I ask
talk.
you what time was it in the club? Because that's a big data point.
The context I don't remember. So
all I know is I kept looking over and Nicole was in these in-depth conversations. I don't know if she was arguing with someone, if she was just like, again, monologuing what it was. I just look over to my other friend. I'm like, we can save that combo for later. Let's go dance.
And then I moved on with my life. But
yeah,
it was
riveting.
In the moment, it was like, I don't even know.
Your monologues are better than most people's conversations that I have. Nicole, like I'm enthralled by your conversations some days, and you think you're monologuing. I'm like, is anybody listening to her? Because you're boring. She's off. And the later it gets, because you get a little bit of you get a little bold. You get a little bold. You start to call people out, not just in your head, but out loud. I'm like,
that's true. That's true. I also know whenever Nicole goes like this, if she's talking to you, if she does this hand movement, she's about to drop some tea. She's about to read you to fill.
Oh my God.
I've had about to here. That's her version of that. Like, I love it.
Yes. Making me all shy.
No, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Nicole, last call. Cheers, Nicole. Last call. We like that, Nicole.
What is it called? No, and it's kind of funny too, because I've had there's been artists who are just like, oh yeah, I'm so excited that I never get the opportunity to speak about these art movements in general, and now in the residency, and people are saying oh, I feel so well, these people are so intelligent, whatever. And me and Nicole and Sinbad and you, I feel like this is just conversations. We just created this so that we could talk
to people about it. Yeah, this is actually not for you guys; it's for us. It's I can just take all of the information that you have.
JK.
It's I don't even think that's a Web3, blockchain type thing. It's that's how comfortable I am. I'm burping through coffee while I'm talking to you. That's how I'm not even trying to be. Let me get more formal. I think it's in life I found just being honest with conversations. Apparently that's rare and alpha. And I've been dumb enough in my life to be I'm going to say what I think I mean, and I'm going to try to be nice to people, and then I'm going to tell people when I think they're full of shit. And we don't, that doesn't happen online, I guess. Everything's like polarized all the time. And like, so the fact that we have it, it's online, right? So it's ostensibly a social network. It just happens to be 20 people on a call on a Sunday. But people aren't used to being this, like talking to each other digitally and being cool. And yet we do it all the time because we're friends first, and then we happen to be. Well, we became friends because of this, but like, the best. It sounds like a cliche, but like creating. God, it sounds so cheesy. Creating spaces that make people comfortable, like it's awesome, you know. And then if we, and I see you too, if we could just sit there and just be like, just listen, like I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah. So I think just as like everyone is equally just so awestruck, I think, by our community. Like everyone we talk to is just like,
I would say I would go. I'm going to check my ego because it's huge. My ego's already huge. I'm going to say like they are wonderfully surprised and they are benefiting from the occurrence of these spaces. Because I mean they're not unheard of. They're just unheard of in our crew. You know?
Yeah. And I don't mean necessarily them to us. I mean like us with them.
No, I think it's us. I think it's me mostly. It's me. They're like awestruck.
Yeah.
Right? No, I know what you mean. I feel like a vibe of like people just happen to be having conversations like this. And I know other residencies like Lowbrow and Culture Hacker are two like people of the space, artists, obviously from their names, and they've held that kind of space for, oh my God, like going on, I want to say 2 years. They have a thing called Damn Zine. It started as a zine. An online zine was the basic idea, and now it's burgeoned into like these artist residencies and like so there's quite a few people that have come before us that are doing this. I just think we're doing it in a way that's like I don't know. It's just easy vibes. I don't know how else to put it. Like it doesn't seem like it's a heavy lift on anybody. And when people show up and like they do the homework and they want to be there, that's probably an indicator, right? Because Sinbad's not assigning light reading. You know, it's like 20 pages on you know the history of Medici, and I'm like, I have to read this, okay? And then I get into it, and I'm like, this is awesome. You know, so
especially the perspective from last week, like the math, I was just like,
there was a lot of math.
I did not. I like skimmed. I was like, numbers. I study international relations, guys, for a reason.
Yeah, I don't know. All these numbers make me sleepy. I want to see videos and words. Although I must admit, Sinbad is very thoughtful about designing. He puts in videos and like written stuff. So you know, if you read some of it, you can get it. Not that I'm saying you should just read some of it. That's what I do.
That was partially my because I was helping him out when we were doing like the readings and the course stuff, and I was like, I mean, I read a lot for my degree, but sometimes it's like I already read so much for school. Like watching a video that's just kind of short, it's just nice to like change, especially because I'm like a visual person, and so I like forced him to put in a couple more videos.
Way to go! See, that's Wait and Hope Consulting. That's it. That's guidance. The other part is like because of the nature of it, like it's art, right? So like having like the kind of having the mode of video makes sense. There's who are those two people? There's a man and a woman who do those videos. Like, okay, now today we're looking at it's like this Bob Ross style. Like, that is crazy. That is crazy, Janet. That's awesome. They're so like quietly, nerdily excited about the art. Those are the videos I love. Whoever picked those?
Yeah, we were looking through like for so many, and like some of them were just like either like too like I don't know, maybe they just didn't have the tone of voice that like me and Sinbad kind of wanted for this. And then we like came across our channel after like looking for a couple of videos, and we were like, this is just like the perfect vibes. Like this is it.
I agree. I bookmark a whole bunch of stuff on that channel just because. I mean, I joke about I don't have an art history. I feel like I don't, because when people talk about like, oh, that's this movement, like I know like Dada because it's crazy and weird, and that's like it. And like I know some other things, but like that channel, the TLDR, the too long didn't read of like a couple minutes, just get it in my head. Like it's awesome. And I have the attention span of a gnat.
True.
How about you two? How do you feel being in this? I'll say this: you two are not only new and already becoming well established in Web3, but like you're new to like a group conversation about it. Like, how do you feel about being there? Why did you get into Web3, and why do you stay around? Wait and hope.
Okay, I see you're flipping the script on us. This is not what we're supposed to happen.
Judo.
Let's see. Well, okay. Nicole and I, having been friends for, I think, 4 years now since the start of our uni experience, you got into the Web3 space before I did, and I know that we had shared philosophies online.
Yeah.
And so she kind of onboarded me onto this space, partially too because she believed in my writing. I just like understood like I don't know, I think just you have a keen eye for art and you really do believe in people and you're very genuine and passionate in like your this yes you are
I need compliments this morning.
yeah. So I can't necessarily say further than how I got into Web3 because that was all because of Nicole and then meeting Sinbad and then eventually you and kind of like it all went like this. But
yeah. I mean, I guess for me, I always knew I wanted to. Well, I was in the art world as a dancer before. Then I gave up on that 'cause the pandemic freaked me out, and I went to university instead.
Oh, wait, dance. You were ballet, right? You were a ballerina.
Yeah, classical ballet, so like very like you know.
You go like this to it, and I like know the level that you were at. You're like, I was, a dancer. I'm like, you were in it, like you explored it, you dove into it. Yeah.
And so yeah, pandemic. I guess I just seeing a lot of artists and speaking to like I don't know other dancers that I knew that were just like struggling even to just like being bartenders at night and doing all these other things just so they could dance. And I mean, when you really love something, you do it. But that's like maybe the one thing I'll say maybe I regret in my life is maybe just giving it up like this. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Giving up ballet? You mean you?
I mean, no, I don't dance too much. I guess like I have the kind of mentality where if I don't do something and it's like I can't do things for fun. Like I don't know how to like do things for fun. For me,
wow, we have to work on that. We have to.
Yeah, I do.
I love you. And we need to fix that. Like
no, but so like I did try taking some classes, but I realized I just would get frustrated because I was like, no, I need to like work. Like I'm very goal motivated, and like I don't know, like I just couldn't do it for fun because the in my head I was like I have to like achieve perfection in dance. So I love it and I love going to see it, but right now I'm not into that as much. But so for me, like university experience, I was like missing this part of me, but I knew I liked being around artists and like I grew up around art and artists. But something I kind of struggled again was with like I think it can just be the art world can be a bit closed off or like I don't want to say pretentious, but it just seems
you could say pretentious.
It can be pretentious. Never. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say never the artist, but for the most part, it's usually not as much artists. I feel like when I talk to them, they're pretty interesting, like people to kind of pick out their brains and see how they think, which is why I love this residency.
Yeah.
But so I kind of just realized I didn't like love that about the art world, and then I kind of like I met Sinbad and we just in Florence, and he kind of started talking to me about on-chain art and like the technology behind it, and then I met like Avram, like he was the first like digital artist I met, and and I don't know, like just seeing like him, he's such a beautiful human being. So
Avram Yael, how do you say his last name? Yael?
Yael.
Yael, the American said. I met him recently too. He's like one of the co-founders, I would say, of the 30C collectors group. He's also an incredibly accomplished, not only fine artist, but commercial artist. And he again, is encyclopedic about all this stuff. He can, and he speaks 8 languages, I think. Like
something like that.
Yeah. So those two, mailman's here. Those two together have, it sounds like they inspired you to kind of get into this, but me as well. Like I think we met the right people. I think to get into this in a way that we wanted to get into.
Completely agree. Yeah. So definitely, like they're very inspiring, and they kind of gave me exactly what we kind of all looking for is like something more real and maybe not real in the. How do I say it? I feel like it's so conceptual, a lot of things that we talk about, but I just love that. Like it's just something real that is conceptual, but it's also thinking.
It's like the space is intangible, but the community is real.
Mm-hmm. But the concepts we talk about are like very.
Who's a wordsmith? Oh, I want to talk more about your poetry in a minute, but like the way I look at it is like these things have depth.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of things. Like I am inarguably involved in a lot of different parts of Web3. Like to throw out some terms like PFP side of it, the trading side of it, the degen side of it, in the trenches, as it were. I'm also involved in like the art side of it, in real life events, working at the foundation level on different chains. And some of the things they only have a certain amount of depth. Mm-hmm. And including in this digital, the Web3 art world, some of it only has a certain amount of depth. And like, I feel like we're able to hang out with people who are at least equally interested in diving deeper. Mm-hmm. Or you are now an on-chain artist as of like this, like seconds ago, like 24 hours ago, you released your first.
Yes, I
all
think
that.
we can talk about that. I'm so excited. I've been a writer for some time. Again, it's everyone that I've met recently who has really inspired me and made me believe in what I did, who kind of led me down this journey. And yesterday, since I've always like wanted to publish my work because I have so many things that are out, and yesterday morning, it just kind of happened where I was recently onboarded onto, I think, using Mallow.
Falana.
And I kind of, part of my process when I write, and I said this earlier in this like interview, but I just kind of like get words and phrases that just pop up into my head out of nowhere, whether it be the start of a new poem or a new essay that I'm doing or story, or it's like a reference back to something that I had written in the past and it just resonates with me. And yesterday morning, I was kind of like, I always journal and I was writing in my bed and the sunlight was coming in. And a line from one of my past poems came up to me, which is, I want to bask in the morning sunlight of my life. And for me, it's a very positive, uplifting line. And it's very like, if you think about it, about how that sensation is, like when you're basking in morning sunlight, it's just very warm, it's happy. And then when I was thinking about it in the terms of my life, I just feel like in this community, for example, we're on the brink of something and it's always been positive and uplifting. And sure, there's some dark things, but I really was feeling all the gratitude and positivity of it. And when I got that creative spark, I was like, I have to run with this. And so recently, I've been converting in like the past 6 months some of my like written poetry into collages. And I know that you and I have talked about this, how collage is kind of something that we prefer. And for me, it's just kind of transformed just writing into something that's a little bit more artistic. So I went all in. I decided to mint my first piece. And shortly thereafter, I saw that you had actually collected the first edition of it. I saw that you posted, and then so many more people too in the community had just reacted so positively to what I had put out there. And I was so grateful to just like publish my first piece, but then to see everyone kind of react in the way that they did, like that's what really keeps me going. And I'm just like eternally grateful and happy. And
It's pretty
I could,
dope, right?
yeah, I'm like
I know
blushing.
you had a following on Instagram, and you already we had talked about why you got into what you did, but the metaverse, if you will, of Web3 of blockchain is Twitter. Like for now, the alternate reality is Twitter. Like if you're on Twitter, people will see your work and understand. And the fact that you released one piece, which I think is incredibly strong. I can definitely say I have a large set of things to gather from obsessively
Mhm.
looking at things. The fact you released it on Solana, which is a great fast chain to get acclimated to and to release, and then people from other chains. Now I made a list of like there's 50 different poets on there, or language artists, if you will, that I didn't know about, and they all were just because of they were coming to your stuff to be like, oh, this is cool, and here's some other people you should talk to. So not only I think are you getting something out of it, like there's a bunch of us who are like, is anybody doing writing stuff online? They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're right here. You're just not looking in the right place. So I think that was you releasing had more waves and ripples than I think you know or intended. So it's like, yeah, dude, it's great.
Yeah.
And the work is dope. Like it's really good. So if it was like okay, I'd be like, oh, yay, it's Sophia. It's really good. So
Thank-
fabulous. I can't wait for more.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it's yeah, to me it's just like there's no other feeling that I can, there's no way to describe this feeling other than me constantly fangirling. Because I'm just like I don't know, I'm just giddy. I'm excited. And like you said, like I had a little following on Instagram. My main following actually came from TikTok, which is kind of random. And I used to post on TikTok just purely anonymously because I really didn't know what I was putting out there.
Yeah.
And again, it was just people's responses that just kept coming out to me that I was like, okay, like I know I can like go like touch someone else, like go beyond just the writing, you know? So yeah, I'll say that I'm super happy. So
It's awesome. The other nice thing about we talked about why did I get in the space and why do I stay in the space. This is what you get. My whole life, this is not a lark. This is like this manic personality and wanting to like talk to people. And so during COVID, like a lot of other people, I started like the world's biggest Slack server, and like had like 100 friends in it. We're like, we're all going to stay in touch. Nobody stayed in touch. Like as soon as COVID ended, everybody went away. However, if you're on Twitter and you can DM people, you can reach anybody. So I know that's a big deal for any kind of like endeavor, but especially for art and artists. I don't think there's ever been a time when you can see something you love, either as an artist or a collector or another artist, and just reach out to the person and be like, hey, you want to talk? And suddenly you're in a conversation, and then maybe you meet in real life, but you don't have to. So the fact that you're now connected, at least in a chain of conversation publicly, to like 50 different artists who are like, yay, I want to talk to you, or me too now, I can just, direct message them to be like, let's talk.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That doesn't happen any other time in history. So yay, Poets Club. There you go.
Poets Club.
Poets Club. Language artists. Yeah.
Okay, when are you gonna drop something?
I did. I have been. I've been dropping like the last. That tells you how much traffic I get. I released like 9 or 10 or 11 pieces split between Mallow and Object over the last like 3 or 4 or 5 days. I don't do any. I kind of like just post it. I'm like, right. So I don't do like what I do for other people, which is like, yeah, you should, applauding them and talking about it. I do stuff in Midjourney. I do very cinematic type of stills that are like definitely dark. I have a dark bent to me, and violence and like sexuality and some other things. And I'm just experimenting with it because like partially because I'm going to have the conversation today during the residency with 2 AI artists that I really, really like for different reasons. And I've been doing AI stuff for like, I don't know, like a year. Midjourney. Whenever something new comes out, I start messing around with it. So, and I just had a few things, and then I just kind of focused this last week and cranked out some stuff and re-upped my subscription. I'm like, oh, this is fun. I forgot about it. And then, all right, I'll release this. Because I think there's something about, there's a collector named Unknown Collector who is like way less serious. Like he's a very serious guy when it comes to collecting, but he's a pleasure. And he's become a really good friend over time. I met him in person. And we realized when we met each other, he did a thing. He released a bunch of AI work a while ago. And I was like, oh, are you getting into the art world? He's like, maybe, but he's like, I wanted to feel what it is like to be an artist, to release things publicly. Is there like an emotion, like you're saying, Soph, about like, oh, people like my stuff, or what does it feel like to be vulnerable and reveal? And so I just wanted to feel that for a minute and do that. So, because like in this space, not a lot of people know that I make art, but now some people do. And they're definitely not seeing my like Procreate hand done stuff. It's definitely like, oh, this is a AI, so it looks good. Like, it's all about the curation and the creative direction of it. So,
yeah.
So to answer your question, available on marketplaces now, but if people buy it, great. I'm just going to spend it on more art.
True. Well, okay. As we're approaching the hour, I think we can get Nicole to ask you one more question.
Oh, we do an hour? Okay, because I could do this for days. Like I can just keep. I feel like this is like we have to be recording it, but I'm so happy we're actually getting a long conversation because I miss you guys.
I forgot we were doing a podcast. I was like listening. To
just
you want to do more than an hour? I'm down. So good.
Just for the viewers, we'll keep it to an hour, but they're gonna get FOMO because we're gonna keep talking afterwards.
Goddamn right.
Ask your questions.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask. So I know you are an artist yourself, but I think kind of like how at least I know you more as a collector, and I know you and Sinbad have talked about I guess how like being a collector is just sometimes it's like a word that's thrown out too much or I don't know, but I wanted to ask if there's like a specific way that you like to collect art, or is it like
how does it
yes, like how, or is it like how it no, well, I think not even just necessarily that, but even the connection like with the artist, is there like kind of, or is it just something that you like and you're like, okay, like this is something that I want to get, or I don't know.
Yeah. If it's so I collect for the reason I collect based on what some people have told me, like, who are like refined collectors in and outside of the world, not do, which is nostalgia. And I think that means, because again, I'm like a very, DIY art history guy or whatever, art education guy. I think nostalgia means like, oh, you feel something about it and it either reminds you of something or makes you wish for something. And that's why you collect it. And it was like, don't collect for nostalgia. You should collect for context and historical relevance and potential. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm like the feels. I just collect purely by the feels. And the feels for me are based on, like it's an emotion too. But for example, I love collecting because I think I get it. Motion graphics work, like anything animated or done in digital, because I worked in that industry for long enough to be like, oh, that's really, see what they did there? Like sometimes it's about the technique, but it's more like, I can't believe you captured that in a certain way, and I know it's difficult. And other stuff is like just, narratives. I collect based on stories that I see. What did I write one time? It's like memories I forgot I pushed down or never knew that I had.
Mhm.
Like, and so that's why I collect. And others, like I used to try to collect based on like, oh, this is important and this will be worthwhile in the long run. And I never got it right. I was always like, I didn't like the piece, and then like it's not flippable. And I don't know, is cool. I bought something people say is good, as opposed to I buy things I really, really like. I try to make a connection with every artist I can. I think if you talk to any artist I've collected with, I probably reach out to them and we've had like a conversation. And they've been like, "Oh my god, it's really good to talk to you." I'm like, "Yeah, we're like humans. Let's talk." Or other artists who they have the term shill, where it's just like they're trying to approach me just to buy their work, and I don't tell anybody the quality of their work, but I can say like it's not my taste.
Mhm.
It's cool, but like I don't matter. It's like some everybody is a map to somebody's taste. My mom loves the stuff I do, so I got at least one good artist. She may be lying, but like I have an audience, so I don't think it necessarily matters what collectors think, but it is like a commercial type thing about buying. So back to your original question, how do I collect? It's just based on gut reaction. I spend enough time. I know why I do what I do too. Like I am really big in life on if you immerse me into chaos, I pick out the signals, and that's how I learn. Like if you dump me into chaos based on my child and everything else, I do real well with stress, and then like I see like signals. So on the art side, I'm just looking at everything all the time, and I'm like that. I don't even really think about it super deeply. And another part, I was in the digital agency advertising world for so long, where it's like, okay, we have something we have to do. Okay, I need 100 versions of that handmade. Okay, look at it and be like, that's the one. Okay, go with it. So my mind is also rigged to make quick creative decisions that now I have to live with because I'm buying the art. So it's very instinctual. It's not very academic or refined. I'm learning from in a very positive way from Sinbad because we've been to Florence together and other places, and he can describe the historical context of something in addition to something I find incredibly aesthetically pleasing.
Mhm.
So that intersection is good for me too. When I see certain works, here's a good example. When I see certain early AI works, I understand why they're important. I understand why that's interesting because it was the first time of this. It's not my jam. It's probably going to be worth millions of dollars later because it was the first time they did this. I'm like, and it looks like a turkey turned inside out with a baster in its head. Like I don't really dig it, so I'm not down with it. So I eschew it. Yeah. So the feels. That's how I collect.
That's how I operate too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I can live with this. And plus, not for nothing, like it's all digital types. Like all the art in my house, most of it's worth zero, right? Because I got it because I liked it, or I bought it from friends, and it means something to me. But like somebody's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy that for X amount of dollars. I'm like, I don't care. So why would I care about this way? I look at it. Why would I worry about that with digital? I'm like, buy stuff you like, and then I bought so much of it, maybe something will pop. But because I like it, I'm going to be heartbroken to sell it anyway. So it's like, yeah. So why not just buy things I like?
Fair. No, I think it's honestly like what you're saying about like at first you started speaking about nostalgia and I'm like, oh god, Nicole and I could talk about nostalgia forever. We've had very in-depth conversations about this. And she was also someone who kind of revealed me to like the more positive experience about having nostalgia because for me it was always something that was much harder to deal with. I really hate the feeling. I feel
Let's
like
do two things. One is that can you define nostalgia for me, and then can you? Yeah, let's do that first because like I often hear of it spoken of like in pejorative terms, and I've always thought like, what is nostalgia? Is it melancholy? What is like? What do people mean when they say nostalgia? Am I getting it wrong? First,
my perception on nostalgia is like it is tied. He had some.
hey,
Yes, we agree.
yeah,
Oh.
no,
What was I saying?
Let's look at nostalgia. So we know his definition of nostalgia.
hold on. Yeah, come on. Okay, you're taking nostalgia. Hey,
If you hear barking, it's not because we have a dog here.
you got it. Okay, cool. We got Otis is here. All right,
Um,
good.
okay, for me, nostalgia is like revisiting kind of a memory that you wish you could go back to or a feeling that you could go back to. And it's something that you really can't have again. or it would take you maybe like there's a really wide gap in order to get to that. And for me, that wide gap usually means it's very painful because it's people have either changed or
So nostalgia, by like it packed into the term nostalgia, is like want, desire, yearning.
Yes.
Like it's kind of like a negative thing in the sense of like, I wish I had that. Like that's what nostalgia is.
And then
For
like
me.
but for me, again, like I feel like I'm such a like my senses, like I just like stimulating. But for me, like nostalgia is always like there's like a scent or like a color or something that I see, and it like triggers like a memory in my head that I once had. And so, for example, yeah, like if there's like a specific perfume or like like some sort of scent, and I like get it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this smells like my grandmother, and then I like start thinking, and it's not necessarily like nostalgia, like I don't see it as like a bad thing because sometimes like you can have, I guess, remember things that are gone, but then you also just think about like for me like the person that I was then is so different. So I'm like, oh, like I'm nostalgic for like my 18-year-old self that was just so like baby and like it wasn't that long ago. So,
Yeah.
but there's like, but also it's like I know I would never actually want to go back to that age anymore. Like it's just you just remember like the pretty things, but I think just life has to be continuous, and I don't know, like for me it's not as negative. It's like bittersweet more than negative.
And I think it's also like more like positive nostalgia to me is just reminiscing. Like you can reminisce on a time of your life and be like, oh, that was so great, but here I am now. Nostalgia for me is very much about that distance between some place that you wish you were at. And I'm a person where I'm just like, I never like regret anything. Like I don't want to be another person. Like I'm very happy being with myself because I feel like that's how I'm going to be most fulfilled. So I don't necessarily even like to feel nostalgia either because it's something that is like, oh, like, but I don't know. There's also for me comfort in melancholy, in being sad, and nostalgia. I might welcome it sometimes, even though I don't like it, just because at the end of the day, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah,
nostalgia. We're gonna be nostalgic about this moment.
Yeah,
later on.
And I
eat it over and over again. Like I'm happy with this because like, oh, remember we did that last weekend? We're doing it again, so it's gonna be fun. Nostalgia to me is like I used to live in regret and rumination a lot. It was part of my operating model to be like just shame and regret and guilt all the time. Not that you were saying that. I'm saying that about me. And now I look at something, I'm like, yeah, that happened. It's like a different K. It's like just a different, like actually empirically, like just different operating model now that I work on a different level of my lizard brain is like pointed toward different objects now, like as opposed to what it used to be. Now it's like get addicted to this instead. I think I don't use the word nostalgia in the most common sense, but I just mean feels. I think the olfactory thing, the perfume thing you tripped on, like I that hits me a lot. Like I'll smell something. There's this one men's cologne called Hermes. No, is it Hermes? Terra by Hermes. I know a couple of guys who wear it, and then I associate it with this other guy who wears it from the past, and I smell it, and I'm just like, oh, I got mixed feelings about this. Like,
yeah,
I have to like process it because I know enough guys I like now that I'm like, oh, okay, it smells like that, and I'm trying to rewrite the association of that like ex drug dealer guy that I used to hang out with. Now I'm like, no, this is a good person. So even that is I think nostalgia revisiting things and having triggers, it rewrites the negative over time. To me. Because to me, that's a necessity because I'm crazy. And if I go into this rumination mode, I'm going to crash out. So I have to rewrite. We could also talk about, we don't have time. We could also talk about aversion, desire, and like Buddhist practice about how like, I don't want to chase anything or push it away. I just kind of want to be where I am. And then if something comes, I'm like, yeah, I got it. Or, oh, it went away and just quickly like cycle through nostalgia. Yeah. And then I think about art and the fact like I definitely collect so having collected a bunch and then like putting it up online, I'm able to actually like look at the patterns. I'm working out a lot of therapy with the stuff that I'm buying. Like there's big swaths of darkness in me that I am expressing with the things I pick, and I think that's healthy. For me, it's healthy. So
I see that. Well,
and then we have to get to our artist residency soon,
exactly.
Right?
We do.
Cheers.
So that's
one last cheers. Hold on.
Yeah, one last cheers for. Oh my god, you can see our faces through this. Okay. Wait and hope. We love you, Kei. Thank you for coming on.
It's great. If you want to do another episode, I'll do them anytime. Anytime you need filler, like do this.
Yeah, we can have more philosophical conversations.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Peace. Wait and hope.
Wait and hope.